Shinzen Young, I've heard, says that disassociation is like the evil twin of awakening. And I know why he says it, although there are things about both states, and actually one is a state and one's not a state, but there are things that they have in common that really make it sort of seem like that in one way of speaking. But there are things that are very, very different about them as well. Disassociation actually takes effort, even though it doesn't always seem like it. Disassociation is a manufactured experience, a manufactured state. None of these are true about awakening. Disassociation is usually dysphoric, and often extremely dysphoric. Disassociation is an altered state. In the extreme, however, disassociation can lead to descriptions that might sound like an awakened state or an aware state, like the mind is very quiet. I can't find anything of substance. There's nothing to do. There's no purpose or meaning. But those are more like conclusions than arising from a natural expression of clarity. But as far as the mechanism of disassociation, I think that the mind-identified state, which is the collective human hypnosis of separation and of identity, is a disassociated state. It's a extremely common disassociated state, but it's a sort of stable disassociated state. It's disassociated in a way that we agree upon. It's disassociated in just the right way that we can like collectively function out of it. But it is inherently uncomfortable as well. What I think sets that up is the standing wave within consciousness of a subject, the thinker, and an object, the objects of thought, that often you're not perceiving in the moment as objects of thought, you're perceiving as the world or as reality or as your own voice. That requires a disassociation to stand back from your objects of perception in the mind. So there's a disassociation that is set up that way inside consciousness. And it's reflective in nature. The reflective nature of consciousness allows that to happen. Some people, through, I think probably a sort of natural tendency that they have, plus a sort of learned coping mechanism that's maybe not the most functional coping mechanism, can actually accentuate that disassociation in such a way that they push thoughts away, or push the world away, or push experience away so successfully in consciousness that it gets kind of set up as a sort of standing extreme disassociation. And it feels like people will describe it differently: derealization, depersonalization, blank mind, things like that. Some people don't even have a description for it. They just know something feels really uncomfortable, and they feel kind of stuck in a sort of state of hesitation or a state of non-functionality. I think everyone has some potential for that, but probably depending on your external circumstances, you may or may not even have the opportunity to do that. Sometimes if you're just physically in survival mode all the time, you don't really have that. You don't have the stage set to do that. If you're in physical survival mode all the time and you like have to actually function in the world to survive on an ongoing basis, and stay very engaged, it's harder to disassociate. Usually when you have a space that's sort of actually a protected space where you can spend a lot of time alone and disassociate, it makes it easier to do.